In this video, you'll learn several different buttercream techniques using a few essential piping tips. By the end, you'll be on your way to improving your buttercream piping skills. Now let's get started. We'll be learning how to create buttercream borders with piping tips number 21, number 104, number 12, and number 3. All of these tips, as well as a coupler and decorating bags, are available in this 13-piece set. More info is available in the video description. Let's go through the process of preparing a decorating bag, starting with tip number 104. First, drop the tip into the decorating bag, pressing it down to the very bottom. Next, open a pair of scissors, position the blade about 1/4 of an inch from the opening of the tip, and move the scissors over the bag to create a score mark. Next, push the tip backwards and away from the end, far enough to see the score mark on the bag. Then cut the bag straight across the score mark. Finally, push the tip to the open end of the bag and it should look like this. I'll repeat these steps with tips number 21, tip number 12, and tip number 3. Before we start, let's briefly cover hand position. This is very important when piping icing and can greatly impact the appearance of your final result. We'll be holding our bag in 2 primary positions. The first is a 90-degree position where the bag is held perpendicular, in our case, completely vertical to the surface. Some techniques will require us to either touch the surface, as shown on the left, or be slightly above the surface, as shown on the right. The second hand position is a 45-degree position where we're holding the bag on an angle. Imagine yourself standing in front of the screen. Depending on the techniques, you'll be holding the end of the bag toward your body, across your body facing left or right, or at a slight angle as shown. Let's learn a few techniques using tip number 21. This tip is extremely versatile and you can create all of these buttercream borders and more with just tip number 21. Let's start with 2 easy techniques, a star and a rosette. We're looking from a slightly angled view because these techniques are created using the 90-degree hand position. To create a star, touch the tip to the surface, squeeze with light even pressure without moving the tip up, stop squeezing completely, and then lift up and away. Let's watch that again. The key to this technique is making sure to keep the tip down while piping, and then stopping pressure completely before lifting the tip away. Next, we'll learn the rosette. For this technique, we'll hold the tip slightly above the surface. Create a tight circle onto itself with nice even pressure in a clockwise direction. Once you get to about 7 o'clock position, relax pressure on the bag and gently continue to move the tip around to the side of the rosette to complete the shape. Now let's see that again. Keys to this technique are to start above the surface, create a tight circle onto itself so no holes in the center, and to relax pressure to bring this technique to a close. You'll want to keep the tip the same distance from the surface the entire time and go off the side instead of lifting the tip at the end. Another basic technique you can create with the number 21 tip is a zigzag. Here I'm holding my bag at a 45-degree hand position, with my hand moving to the right. If you're left-handed, you'll start this technique on the right and then move to the left. As I pipe, notice that I'm not moving my wrist at all. This technique requires us to move our entire hand and arm in order to maintain the proper 45-degree hand position for this technique. Using the same 45-degree hand position, I'll create a rope border. First, I'll pipe a heel shape. Then, I'll tuck the tip under the heel and pipe up and over the original shape and disconnect at the top. Then I repeat the steps of tucking under and piping over, tucking under, piping over. Next, let's pipe shells using the 45-degree hand position with the end of the bag facing our body. Let's look at this from another angle. I hold the tip in place and squeeze until the shell gets wide. Then I relax pressure and bring the tip down. To create a border, I pipe the next shell on the tail of the one before it. Another border that you can create with tip number 21 is a C motion. Holding the bag at a 90-degree hand position slightly above the surface, create a lowercase c shape and then extend the tail like this. Next, we'll learn a couple of techniques with tip number 104. Notice that this tip is tapered and that it has a wide end and a narrow end. Let's create a ruffle by holding the bag in a 45-degree position. Make sure that the wide end of the tip is touching the surface and that the narrow end of the tip is pointed up and away from your body at a 45-degree angle. Squeeze with nice even pressure while moving your entire hand toward yourself and away from yourself and toward the right. Remember, if you're left-handed, start on the right and move your hand toward the left instead. You can also pipe flat petal-like shapes like this. Next, we'll learn a couple of techniques created by using the number 12 tip, the first being a dot. Hold the bag at a 90-degree position slightly above the surface. Squeeze the bag, keeping the tip in the same place, and allow the icing to build up around the tip like this. Once your dot is the desired size, gently lift the tip slightly and take it off the side of the dot. Doing this prevents the dots from having very pronounced points at the top. You can make smaller dots with tip number 3, using the same technique. Another border that can be created with both the number 12 and the number 3 tip is the snail border. Holding the bag at a 45-degree position with the end of the bag facing our body, squeeze with the tip in place, and then relax pressure while bringing the tip down to a point. The snail technique is very similar to the shell technique. A smaller shell border can be achieved using the number 3 tip. The number 3 tip can also be used for writing on a cake. To print, hold the bag at a 45-degree position vertically for vertical lines and at a 45-degree position horizontally for horizontal lines. If you encounter slight angles in your letters, adjust the angle of your hand accordingly. To pipe curvy letters with ease, I do so with the bag in a 90-degree position with the tip slightly above the surface. For cursive writing, it's best to hold the bag at a 90-degree position with the tip slightly above the surface to pipe all of the curves perfectly. If you're interested in learning how to pipe more lettering styles, check out the video linked in the description below. As a bonus, I'll show you how to prepare a decorating bag with a coupler and explain the purpose of this nifty tool. First, untwist the coupler ring from the coupler body. Place the coupler body down into the decorating bag and notice the threads of the coupler body. Next, create a score mark on the bag at the bottom edge of the coupler threads like this. Push the coupler back slightly and cut the bag straight across the score mark. Push the coupler body to the bottom of the bag, place any piping tip on top, then position and twist the coupler ring down onto the coupler body through the bag to secure the tip. A coupler allows you to easily switch the piping tip on a decorating bag. This saves time from making a separate decorating bag and is one less thing to clean up at the end of the day. All of these tips, a coupler, and decorating bags are available in my piping tip set, linked in the description below. Piping icing isn't the only decoration you can add to a cake. Check out the video on the right where I show you how to safely add real flowers to a cake. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button below. And as always, thanks for watching.